tonight to celebrate fashion, entrepreneurialism, business, marketing, branding, everything you name it. We're here to celebrate it and work together and network. Tonight, we are going to celebrate this wonderful entrepreneurial woman here, businesswoman, Rebecca. She is the owner of this warehouse, DID, and she also is a curator of events. She's been a designer. She's just multifaceted, and I would say a serial entrepreneur. So we could really learn a lot from her tonight, and we are excited. So if you could please give some snaps and some claps for Rebecca and welcome her for tonight, and I'm going to pass it over to her. So thank you so much.
I'm Rebecca Rosario Kahua. So I'm the founder of the Dad Sewing House and of Creative Industry Nights. So the reason we're doing this today is before I even had the manufacturer, the idea was actually to create an environment here in the Bay Area where creatives could come together, build, and really build a presence of the creative community here in fashion, interior, film, photography. We all need to work together in order to survive here in the Bay Area, especially with all the changes going on. And in order to do that, we need a network, just all coming together and creating this environment. So this is why we're here today. It's been a long time coming. This idea of having a manufacturer didn't come up because it was my dream. I never even knew anything about having a manufacturer, sewing manufacturer. It actually just came because of the act of giving. So myself and my team, my friends, Eddie, Amanda, Peanut, we've been organizing homeless feeding events in San Francisco for 4 years. And through that, the idea of creating a way I can merge my fashion community as well as my passion for community service as well as designing together, which is how this whole idea came about. And now we're here. So this actually, the idea of having this event was here before I even had the manufacturer or even wanted the manufacturer. It's just something that came about to not only help keep the fashion industry alive here in the Bay Area and domestic manufacturing. We wanted to be a resource for designers and brands that needed sewing production. And everybody on our panel today is actually works with me in one way or another. Either they're designing with me, I'm manufacturing for them, or just working together and styling, whatever it is that they do. I've organized people that from all different backgrounds. Our first guest is Charolette. She's a designer who recently got funding. The reason why I chose this topic was because in the creative industries, we often don't hear about how to get funding, and it's not really taught in school. So for me, I just got lucky because I went to figure it out myself. But it's not something that's talked about or really communicated in our industry, so I thought it was really important to kind of show that and really not talk about so much the inspiration behind us. I think we're all inspired, and that's why we're in the room here today, but more about what we can take away and really learn from somebody and learn how to do something. So that's the focus here tonight. And so our first panelist is a designer. Our second person is somebody who actually is an advisor for clothing brands as well as tech brands and helps connect them to investors. So that's Michael. And then our third person is one's a VC and they're both co-founders to a home decor brand. And the fourth is a big clothing brand known as the world's most sustainable fashion brand, and they manufacture with us too. So it's all kind of spectrums of the industry and their level in the industry. As Amanda mentioned, we will after have a little mixer, designer showcase. Everybody can run around the warehouse and check out some of the designers. Their stuff are on display. People that are on the panel as well as people that are have manufactured with us in the past. So we're going to introduce Charolette now. So we are going to save one Q&A question per panelist. It's kind of like a fireside chat / speed dating panel. So like I said, I wanted to be very focused on their background and their expertise. So that's why I didn't want to have an entire panel out here at the same time asking very broad questions. So for Charolette, as I mentioned, she has recently got funding. She works here out of the warehouse with me. And it's been inspiring to see her do all realms of it. She's been fundraising, she's been putting her business plan together, her financial model. And she's in the middle of it all right now, so I thought that was really unique to have her on. And she doesn't like to talk about it, but she has a great, amazing background in styling. She's known as one of the San Francisco stylists. She's worked with one of my favorites, Michael Costello, who's a big Hollywood designer, red carpet designer, and a lot of celebrities from Camila Cabello, another one of my favorites. Just a lot of people. So yeah, I'll let her first tell us a little bit about your background and your brand. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to SF State here in San Francisco, and go Gators if we have any alumni in the crowd. And during my time at SF State, I worked at Nordstrom's, and then I worked at Barney's, and I got my feet wet in retail because it's really important, I think, to learn how to talk to people, especially as someone in fashion, learning how to articulate what the importance of each piece and things like that with each individual customer is something I got really young. And then as I graduated, I met Michael Costello right out of Project Runway, and we joined forces when I was really young, 23. So I started working with him, building out his brand for about 3 years, and then I also started working with another brand developing out here in the Bay Area called Bonobos, because I also wanted to kind of spread my wings and work with menswear. So I helped them kind of build their West Coast team for a year and do product development. And then Michael's brand caught a little bit more traction, so we started doing New York Fashion Week, and I did New York Fashion Week for 4 years, styling and production, planning it out, and that was a great success. And I worked with another startup, luxury accessories line called House of Brel out in San Francisco, and worked with them for a few years, developing their product line, branding, and launching that. And now, for the last year, I've been independent, which has been really exciting and nerve-wracking, but really, luckily I met Rebecca around the same time that I decided to go independent, so it's been great to have another strong entrepreneur by my side to help me when I hit the low points.
When you made that transition, like, how did you make that decision, and what would you recommend for people that are just getting out of school, that have no experience? How do they get started if they want to be a designer?
I think it's really important to try and do as much as you can, as quickly as you can, while you have the energy and you're young. Put yourself out there, talk to people, go to events, I met Michael at LA Fashion Week when I was interning backstage, and I was just hustling harder than everybody, and that's literally all that it took for him to see that I had that fire and that passion, and that's how we connected and how I moved forward and catapulted myself from that point forward too. Once I learned that lesson, I just kept going in that way of saying, if I can look and feel different and exude my passion in front of other people, then they're going to recognize that and hand me opportunities. And so as you're doing it as a young person, just go all day, every day, as much as you can.
Yeah, I would definitely agree the same thing. For me, my number one advice would be just keep doing stuff. And it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, if it's related to what you want to do. At the end, it's all going to support a bigger vision, which is what I was doing. Feeding the Homeless had nothing to do with fashion, but it all came together at the end, which is pretty cool. Another question for you, Charlotte, is how did you get funded, and can you break down the steps somebody needs in order to get funded?
I got funded through working with a private investment firm, and it's an angel investment because I wanted to keep creative control over my brand as I'm developing it. I needed a preferred seed because some of the work that I am doing costs a lot on the upfront, building molds and getting everything done on the logistics side of getting everything started costs a lot of money. So I needed to find a partner that could help me do that. But through the last 8 years of working as a stylist and designer in the Bay Area, LA, and New York, I had a lot of contacts. So I basically started doing what I did at the beginning of my career, which is start talking to people about what I was doing, what I was looking for, and putting myself out there in that way, letting them know that that was a part of what was happening. I do a lot of custom work also on clothing, and meeting people who can afford custom clothes means that you're meeting people who have money. So I talked to them about it and was like, you ended up in a realm, and if doing things, what do you look for when you're investing, or how do you do this, and help them over a year's course guide me towards what I needed to do. And then I asked for help from different collaborators in relationship to the things I don't know. I'm not meant to build spreadsheets. That's not my favorite thing to do. I like to make clothes. I like to make people look and feel beautiful. So I talked to people I know that knew how to do those things, help me build a financial model, help me build a strategy, help me build a business plan. And I did the work that they gave me, the homework that I had to do that no one else can do, because this is my brand, my vision, my ideas. But I used them and their skill set to help me go from place to place to place till the point where I was ready to start presenting. And then once I was ready to start presenting, I went out there and I talked to the people who I already knew were interested through the conversations I'd been having little by little. I wasn't looking for a huge amount of money because I don't want to give up a large percentage of my company, but so I wanted to go kind of in a smaller scale, kind of nurture the relationships and then try and move them forward as I got closer to my end goal.
How much do you think funding somebody needs initially to start?
I think initially everybody needs at least probably $100,000 to $150,000 to get an apparel brand off the ground, to create your website, to get all your legal work done, to trademark your work, to get everything done in terms of manufacturing as well. Like everything I do with Rebecca, even though we're partners, it's still important for her to be keeping her business going, and you need to be, as much as you can leverage your friends and things like that, you're also gonna need to pay people. And that's on the low end. I mean, if you look in the business of fashion or in Women's Wear Daily, they'll say that you need $2 million to start a brand these days. But I think you can get off the ground for around $100,000 to $150,000, more or less. Depending on this type of brand you're working for, luxury or non-luxury, and whether you're going to produce domestically or internationally.
And to touch on kind of what you already spoke about, mentorship. So mentorship is really important, and I feel like for anybody in any industry, and finding people to help you on that realm, has that played a role in your life, and who has been somebody who's been a really good mentor to you?
Yeah, that would be the other thing I would say to a young designer, is try and find anybody that you can respect that's even just a little bit older than you, even a peer maybe. I mean, actually make them older than you. And try and talk to them as much as you can. I had a mentor very early on who was actually a recruiter, an executive recruiter for Neiman Marcus, and she, in the very beginning of my career, really taught me a lot. She gave me a lot of guidance. She taught me to grow where my roots were, not to be ashamed of being a creative person or a designer. And then Michael as well. I worked with him for 7 years, and he was a natural born talent who worked incredibly well, just in his own visions and ideas, and he really helped me learn how to trust myself and my instincts, and to also put myself out there.
Awesome. Yes, and also I think a lot has to do with just jumping into things. Like I said, I got this manufacturer having zero knowledge of how this even really works, other than my design background as a designer and going to school. And I was lucky enough to meet Angie, who was selling the business, and she stayed and has been my mentor since then. So I got really lucky. But finding somebody that just has more experience than you, and even if you're not fully ready, just learning from them and being humble enough to admit that is going to get you so far. Just being humble. We're going to do one question for Charlotte, and we'll go on to our next person. Does anybody have a question for Charlotte?
It took about, I would say, like 6 months. I would say I was developing all of the materials, a year including me developing all of the materials that it took to present. And then it was about 2 months of presenting, and then getting all the contracts and everything done from that point forward was another 3 to 4 months.
And let me add on to that, were these people that you already had relationships with?
Yes.
So how long have those relationships been going on?
6. One was 2 years, the other one 6 years.
So definitely want to highlight the importance of maintaining your relationships.
Showing up is huge. Mm-hmm. Showing up, and especially in a creative field, being able to actually follow through on what you say you're going to do is what people are looking for first, for sure. If you can actually do what you say you're going to do, that's what they want first. And then after that is when you can actually start getting into the nitty-gritty of having a relationship with them. Because there's a lot of people out there, especially in creativity, that are looking for a lot of the glamour without a lot of the responsibility. And so if you can be responsible and prove that over and over, then you can earn a lot of respect and build those relationships, and from that you can start talking about money. Because it's a risk. Fashion's always a risk. You're putting your neck out there and you're saying, I hope nobody chops it off. So it's like, anyone you're partnering with has to know that as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Charlotte. Well, they're going to come back for Q&A, everybody. But thank you guys. Clap for Charlotte.